Welcome back, you guys. I'm Tassie, and this is my Shaman Memoirs channel. So last week I did miss posting a video. I got really behind on things, you guys. However, I'm trying to get back on track. So this week we're going to start off with a ghostly update like usual. And then I'm going to really go into a story time. You know, I've been asked lately by more than one person, what was life like for me before I became a shaman? So we'll get into it in this video. So as you guys know, I frequently talk about a younger sister of mine, and my younger sister and I were actually pretty close. We do a lot of things together. And so whenever I'm really close to people, I always dream about things going on in their lives or things that I guess they feel like my spirit guides feel like they have to tell me. But my younger sister there, she frequently goes to California to visit. And so she was actually staying with somebody in California, and that place was really freaking haunted, you guys. So what happens? I end up having dreams of the haunted place. So I actually had two separate dreams of that haunted house. And one of them, it was really funny because this younger sister, she's like more of a chicken turd than I am. So like if she's like alone, and then I try not to like tell her things because it's just gonna make it worse for her. She tends to hear a lot of ghosts because she talks to them in her sleep, okay? So she does it to herself. But anyways, so the first dream I had was I went to go shower. I was there. And oh yeah, so let's talk about another one. Okay, so first off, I went to go shower there, and when I was showering there, I kept dreaming that that's when a demon comes. It comes when you're showering. And I remember I could see like a shower door, and there's like a blue handprint, like somebody had blue gunk all over the hands and they kind of smeared it, right? And I remember every time, for some reason, I was doing multiple showers in this dream, but then this blue demonic thing kept coming whenever you showered. So then when I woke up, I was like, oh, messaging my sister, like, oh yeah, like apparently the demon comes when you guys shower. And my sister was like, can you please not tell me while I am staying here? But anyways, then there was another dream where I was taking a bath, okay? I'm at that place in California and I'm taking a bath, and then my sister is sitting on the edge of the actual tub, and I'm in the bathtub, and she all of a sudden she lifts something and I see like a big spider. And I was like screaming in my dream, telling her to kill the spider. She's like all kind of laughing, not taking it seriously, but she finally gets rid of the spider. And then of course, when I wake up, I'm gonna go shower that day. And the whole time I'm gonna shower, you guys, I kept thinking to myself, I wonder if this spider is real. So I kept looking around my whole bathroom and everything. I didn't see anything, whatever. I turned the shower on to run. And then I go and take off all my clothes and I'm getting ready. And then I pull open the drapes. And as soon as I do, the big spider is there. And I'm just like, the first thing I said was, oh my god, it's real. So of course I had to kill this spider, but I mean, like, can you imagine if I just got in there and then the spider came out while I was in there? And this is a big old spider, okay? This is like, you can see its individual legs because it was that thick, okay? But anyways, another haunted dream I had. So what happened was this one night, I'm dreaming, and in my dream, like all nightmares, it always starts off pretty normal. I'm apparently at work and I'm on a big project and I'm trying to hurry it up because we have dinner plans that night. So I remember specifically, I was leaving work and I called her and I said to her, hey, I'm on my way, wait for me, okay? I'm on my way and we'll go have dinner. And she agrees. And as I'm trying to leave work, it's like everything and anything was trying to stop me from leaving. So like all of a sudden the elevator didn't work, but I thought the whole time I was on the first floor, why am I trying to ride an elevator? And then I get to the parking garage, and then I had to climb all of these like crazy zany looking stairs, and apparently I'm holding a bike, and I'm climbing all the way up there, and then when I get to my car, there's a bunch of traffic and everybody's trying to stop me from leaving. So then don't ask me why, okay? Sometimes in your dreams you just do weird stuff. But like in parking garages, there's like a opening, and then there's like a wall, and cars park up against it, but there's that big opening. Apparently I drove through it and I made it to the ground, and I just kept driving. So then the next scene, I wake up and I'm in my bedroom. My boyfriend is next to me. My cat is at the feet of my bed like usual. And next to my side of the bed, I have like a little nightstand thing, and then my closet, right? And my sister is sitting there with a table in front of her, and she's like on a folding chair, and there's one candle that's lit, right? And I'm looking at her and I'm like, I thought we were going to dinner. And she was like, we did. Don't you remember? And I remember I got really upset, okay? Because I was like, no, like, I don't remember eating it, so we have to go again. And my sister, she was like joking with me because she was like, I'm just kidding, we never made it. And I'm like, well, what happened? And she was like, well, when I got home, I started snacking on a cucumber and I got really sick. So then we never made it and I went to sleep, right? So then I was like thinking really hard because I was like, I don't just randomly eat cucumber. Like, I don't remember the last time I had a cucumber that wasn't in a salad. So I was just like, what? And then all of a sudden I turned to look at my boyfriend again and I'm looking at him. And then I was like, why is my sister in the bedroom? So then I turned around and I looked for her again and she's gone. She was never there. It's just my closet. There was no table. And then it just dawned on me like, oh my God, like I need to call my sister. But here's the thing. In California, I have two sisters. I have an older sister and a younger sister. So my younger sister is actually just visiting. She actually lives here in Minnesota. So in my dream, I kept telling myself, I need to call my younger sister. But I kept hearing a voice telling me urgently, you need to call your older sister. Call your older sister. And I woke up, I need to call my older sister. And it was one of those really weird things. And this was like 3 in the morning, okay? And, you know, California, they're in Pacific time, so they're 2 hours behind. So naturally, I called my sister. So I'm like messaging the whole family chat like, no, I had a really bad dream, you guys. So I'm calling my sister. She's not picking up. And then finally she messages me and she was like, oh, I'm sorry, I just woke up. Like, what's going on? And I'm just like, oh, thank God. Like, I just had a terrible nightmare about you. Like, I just need you to be very, very careful in the coming days. Like, just make sure you're super duper careful, okay? Whatever you're doing, wherever your surroundings are, look around you, make sure you're okay. And what ended up happening was literally we kept kind of freaking out, okay? Like, we're really worried, like, what is going to go on? And I want to say it was the next day or the day after. It was a really short time period. My sister, she was going to work. And usually she's always rushing. Like, if people know my sister, she's always speeding and rushing. Okay. But so then that day, though, she was like, I'm going to really take my time. And you really purposely think of my emotions, etc. So right in front of her, not 200 feet away, a really bad car accident happened with all these cars piled up. And she was very, very thankful because had she been rushing like she normally does, she would have been in that car accident. So thank God. But yeah, like that was just really crazy having those dreams there. And you know, it always happens because my little sister's up to something. But in general, though, like I don't know why, I was kind of worried about something was happening to my older sister too. So that was really crazy. But that was just a ghostly update that's happened lately. All right. So basically, who was I before I became Shaman Memoirs, right? So before I knew that I was supposed to be a shaman, I have done videos of me growing up as a kid and how Michael the Demon attached himself to me. So I'll try to link them in the description box below, but I know I've done a lot of videos and I'm pretty bad about my record keeping. However, I will try to link them in the videos, in the links below. Now, you guys can go ahead and watch those videos. It really talks about how I was growing up and how I talked to spirits and all sorts of stuff, okay? So beyond the obvious of, you know, Michael the Demon and talking to spirits and ghosts and stuff, you know, I was really focused on, okay, first off, I was a very selfish person, and I was really focused on my career. You know, like I've always been somebody who is focused on my career versus starting a family, having kids, etc. I am not somebody who wanted the American quote unquote dream. You know, like you have a house with a picket fence, you got your 3 cars, you got your kids, you got your boat. I never cared for those things, you know, and I think it's one of those things where I see so many people around me who have those things. And I'm not saying it is not a good dream, okay? Like what I'm about to say sounds kind of negative. However, it is my own view and how I portray it, okay? Because most of the people in my life, they have these things, okay? Like, even though they had those things, I saw they weren't always satisfied. They weren't happy. It was like they were always looking for something more. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with their family or kids or relationship, okay? It was just, I was noticing that it's still just not enough. And so for me, it's like, yeah, I get it. Like having those kind of things. I'm not somebody who cares about my possessions. So like all of my stuff could burn up today and I don't care. Like I just genuinely don't care about owning a lot of things. And my younger sister can really attest to this because she'll come to my house and see things. And I'm the kind of person, if I don't see it right in front of me, I forget I own it. I forget I ever bought it, okay? I remember specifically, there's a lot of times where I really want this makeup item, and then I'm making plans to go and buy it, and then one day I open up a drawer, and I was like, oh, I have this. Like, did I buy it already? So, you know, I tend to not know what I have. Same thing with like my clothes. I shop a lot, but I don't really remember what I own. And so sometimes my sister, like you know, like your bummy clothes you're just laying around in, she's like, you have so much clothes, Tassie. Why do you always seem like you're wearing the same things? It's because I forget I own it, okay? I don't know what it is. But it's like, I only gravitate to what is right in front of me, okay? And so she'll frequently ask me like, oh, hey, like, you know, oh, you have this at home. And I'll look at her, I'm like, I don't have this at home. And she's like, yeah, you do. And then I'll be like, let's make a bet. So I was like, do you know where in my house is this? And she'll be like, yeah, I know where it's at. And I'm like, are you really sure? Because I don't want to leave the store and not buy this because I think I don't have it. And then we'll get home and my sister will literally pull it out of my house and be like, here it is. And I'm just like, huh, how did you know that was there? But I will definitely say though, like, you know, I have had a house and I've had the whole 3 cars, the scooters, the dog, the picket fence, yada, yada. I have had that, you know, and so it's not something that, you know, it was more of a thing where you do it because you feel like this is what you're supposed to do in life, right? You're supposed to show your level of success in that way because that's what the family portrays as success. And as I got older, I really realized like everybody's opinion of success it varies so much. Like for me, getting married and having children is not what I consider successful. I saw it as something that chains me down in my life, okay? So I know that's going to sound really weird, and that's why I've never wanted to have children. Now, I will say a lot of people misconstrued me not wanting to have children as me not liking children, okay? Here's the thing with me. I'm not a motherly kind of person. Like, okay, and I'm only saying this because I have a sister who loves children, like loves children. Like the way I see animals and pets is the way she sees children, okay? And for me though, I see children as just a small human, but they're gonna grow up, you know? So I feel like the responsibility around them is a lot different because you need to make sure they become a good person when they get older, you know? And so it's not about coddling them and saying how cute they are. Like, we're all cute. I get, you know, like, so I just don't get it. And I don't do baby talk. I don't sugarcoat things either with children. Like, you need to learn, like, you need to know, like, and the one thing I do shy away from is how are babies made. I don't know why children are obsessed with that question, but I get away with it because I always tell people with children, when they ask me, well, Auntie, how are baby made? How are they made? And I'm like, I don't know, because Auntie doesn't have any kids. And they will literally think about it and they'll be like, oh yeah. And then I get off on that question. But in general, what I'm trying to say though is, you know, like I was focused on my career and what do I want to do in my life? What is important to me? Not what is so much important to my family or my significant other. Okay. You know, like I talk about this too. Sometimes people are amazing friends. They are absolutely amazing, but they're pretty toxic in relationships. Okay. That's probably me. You know, like I was always very centered on myself and my needs and what I want. So regardless that I, you know, saw ghosts and talked to spirits and stuff, it wasn't something that I knew that is what shamans do because I was very Americanized. You know, like my family and I, we don't have a lot of family members the way in the Hmong community, traditionally, you have a lot of aunts and cousins and uncles and grandparents and all sorts of stuff, right? We didn't have that. It was literally just my siblings, even though there's like 16 of us. It was literally just my siblings and us. You know, we were not close to our, you know, like stepsisters or brothers or their side of the family. We were not close to our stepfather and their families. We were not close to our father's family. And for sure, we were not close to our mom's family. So it was one of those things where, you know, we saw each other during major events. You know, we don't just go over and hang out at each other's houses. If we do, it is planned. Like, you don't just ever show up at someone's house. You have to be invited or ask if you can come over. So, you know, like, we were very, very much so Americanized. And the only friends that I had that were Hmong was through my ex, or it was through work or school. And that was pretty much it. And that's how I met more Hmong people, because growing up, we were not around them. And going back to my question about, like, you know, what do I see as successful in a person, right? If it's not having the house with the picket fence and the kids and being married, for me, it was about somebody being truly happy. You're truly happy with your life. You know, like, you make your life, whatever it is, whether you're miserable, whether you're super happy, you truly make your life. I genuinely believe that. You know, like, I find that a lot of times people, they hold themselves back out of self-doubt or fear of failure. I always throw caution to the wind, and I'm definitely really carefree about that kind of stuff. But I always make sure that I take care of my own responsibilities, where, you know, I am able to live on my own and support myself and not have to rely on anybody else. So thankfully, that's from my mom. You know, like, my mom growing up, she was not around. You know, like, I genuinely don't have much of a relationship with her because we so seldom saw her. You know, it just doesn't happen. She has a bunch of kids, you know, and she was always working. She got her college degree, and then she just started business ventures. That's how she's always been. So she is also somebody who's very focused on her career and her own needs in her life too. So that really molded me into understanding how I can achieve my own happiness too, but not have a bunch of kids while I'm at it, okay? Now, I definitely traveled a lot. I love eating out, you know, with my mukbang channel. I love eating and trying foods. You know, like, for me, those are the things that were more of a priority for me, like my career, and that's how I chose to focus my time and energy on it. And I will definitely say a lot of my siblings, they have children and family, and they're married too, but they are also focused on their businesses too. So I would definitely say that kind of runs in our family, where we tend to focus more on business ventures and how we can reach and attain our own level of happiness. And we definitely really support each other. Even though we may not always agree with each other's life choices, we've always been the type to support one another and understand where the other person's coming from. So probably because I didn't have a toxic level relationship in that way, I always had people who supported me regardless if they agree with my life decisions. It really propelled me as well to be and do whatever I want to do. And I was the youngest for 8 years. Okay, pretty much I was the youngest. Now, I will also add that when I was younger, like in high school and everything, middle school and high school, I did have to watch a lot of people's children, okay? So, you know, like, I did have to help raise other people's kids because they were having children, because they're much older than I am. And, you know, they're married and they have children and they don't have a babysitter. So I would have to, as soon as I'm done with school, I would have to go and help watch and take care of their kids. So, you know, like, definitely they are all great human beings now. And, you know, I think I've always seen, though, like, children always love being with me because, and I think it's because I tend to, okay, I do this thing where I'm very, like, everything's really equal when we're playing games, okay? And I will beat you, and and I'm a sore winner and a sore loser. I don't care if you're like 5 years old, okay? We're playing hopscotch and I'm gonna beat you. And I'm gonna rub it in when I beat you, okay? But it's like, I like to make sure I take them out and they get to see different things of the world, you know? And, like, I remember one of my girlfriend's son I helped take care of, and he is freaking amazing. But when he was a kid, he was real bratty. He was real bratty, and I always gave him shit. because I knew what really scared him, right? Which was tattling on him to other people. And so, but you know, he was definitely, he was a kid, you know, so he was crying all the time. He wanted his parents. And I'm like, I'm the best thing you got. So we both gonna cry together. But I remember I took him out biking one day and I kept looking at him because I was like, Bishop, you sure you know how to bike? And he kept swearing up and down, I know how to bike, auntie. I know how to do it. I'm just like, it really don't seem like you know how to bike. So and then I just continued to keep taking him out biking until he would learn it, because he wouldn't like give in that he didn't know how to bike. Because then he knew that I would leave him behind and I would go biking without him. But you know, like but you know, we always went to go play tennis. And so it was just like a lot of those activity things that I would always take him out doing. So again, it's not that I don't like children, but I will say this. I do not like things that are dirty. Yeah, so I once had a girlfriend. Her baby was teething. He was really young. And he came over and I had all wood floors. Okay. And I'm really particular. Okay, like this is before I became a shaman. I was, oh no, I take this all back. And now that I'm no longer a shaman, I have let go a lot of that stuff. However, before I was a shaman and when I was a shaman, I could not stand things being dirty. Okay, like it would, okay, so like her kid was teething and he was crawling around my floors. He started drooling and there was puddles of drool on the ground, you guys. And I remember I was like trying to, you know, not look at her son and look at my girlfriend and her husband. But it got to the point where I started gagging because his drool was everywhere. It was puddles, you guys. Okay, this is not normal. This is puddles of kids. Okay, drool. And I just started gagging. And my girlfriend was like trying to clean it up, but it was just so disgusting. So I will say, I have gotten better, you know, but like I can't see like backwash. If I see backwash, I will throw up. Okay, like so. But as far as like my area and like my space and stuff like that, I feel like I've let a lot of that go. Where it's not as much of a control thing anymore. Where before it was a real big control. I was really big on how I decorated my place, the interior design, how the room felt with feng shui and everything. I don't study it, you guys. It's just an internal feeling. And so, and I did all of this before I became a shaman. So everything had its own place and I was very particular about it. And, you know, a lot of people really liked my house, but it's one of those things where, you know, like I definitely had to have that control and I couldn't have things be dirty or messy. It was just, I just couldn't handle it. My soul couldn't. But now I'm a lot better. Now, as far as like spiritually, I never once thought I was a shaman. You know, you guys have to understand. I don't know anything. I knew nothing about shamanism. The only thing I knew, I was definitely biased. And you know, like I had negative interactions with shamans where, because like my mom, after our divorce from our dad, my dad went to church, right? So then when my mom divorced him, she was more encased in the shamanic world, where she sought out shamans and her husbands also followed shamanism. So we were not close to our stepfathers and we definitely didn't listen to them. You know, like I remember one of my girlfriends I met, and she's actually the one who led me to considering if I was a shaman, right? She was actually very traditional, and I actually met her through work, and that's how I knew her. She was a very traditional Hmong girl, and she was married, and she is the one who kind of asked me one day, she was like, because then we became closer over time. It took a few years, and we finally got closer. And one day she just point blank asked me, like, Tassie, have you ever considered that you were a shaman? You know, and like that's never dawned on me ever. But you know, I've experienced a lot of negative things with our mom and shamans, because the shamans that we knew, they didn't see ghosts. They couldn't see that I could see ghosts, and they couldn't see Michael. Okay, so it was one of those things where, you know, I had a hard time understanding that that could have gone hand in hand. Whereas nowadays, I mean, now that I look back, It was kind of obvious. I should have, but I would have never known. And I will say this too. One thing you guys may not know, if you are supposed to be a shaman, spirit, and you can see ghosts and you can talk to them, okay? They are not allowed to tell you that you're supposed to be a shaman. So that's actually against the rules where they can't tell you. Michael never once told me. I mean, now I think about it, I can see why he never told me. But, you know, like, because he didn't want me to go ahead and be a shaman. That's the thing. However, it's kind of convoluted. He didn't want me to get rid of him. Okay, so that's pretty much what it was. And so it's one of those things where they can't openly tell you because you need to succumb to it and realize you're supposed to be a shaman. And I just really had to learn the hard way. But like in my older videos I did, you know, like I talked to ghosts a lot. And once I became a shaman, that anxiety I used to feel in my chest if I didn't talk to them, it went away. You know, like I developed the ability to be able to talk to them in my head and not have to talk them out loud because they would possess me per se. Okay, so like they would come into me and then they would talk. So, you know, it basically seemed like I was being possessed, but I could stop it at any point in time. But I had to do it because if I didn't do it, I would feel like it was intense pressure in my chest, and then I would start to get like really agitated and angry. And then once I did it, it just felt like you're like 10 pounds lighter. And then so doing that though, and then once I finally became a shaman, I entered the spirit world, that no longer happened. Like even to this day now, instead of like the whole talking with spirits and stuff like that, I do tend to shy away from it now because I feel like it's like as you get older, you have a sense more now of what's actually happening, what things are, and you start to develop, okay, I shouldn't be doing this, I shouldn't be talking to them, no, this is demonic, etc. But then I also had, what is it now? I tend to hungo instead of actually like talking to the spirits. The ngo part comes out now instead. So I still do that. And seeing ghosts and talking to them, etc., that wasn't something that like scared me, especially when I was younger. When I was younger, they did not scare me as much as when I got older. As I got older, and you know, like when you start to see things with people, especially in their houses, it's one of those things where you start to get scared. You know, you start to feel scared, but there's things you can't do. Like you can't do anything about it, right? So like me not knowing that I was supposed to be a shaman and that this is a sign of being a shaman, okay, like there's no real handbook on how to know you're supposed to be a shaman. You think of all these things, right? But back then anyways, like, you know, people didn't know these things. And so for sure, I just thought of it as, it's just something that happens. Like, it's just something that, you know, like, there have been times where I have considered telling a doctor. Okay, I will admit that. You know, there have been times where I will, like, look at a doctor and they're asking me, do you hear things? Do you see things, right? And I'll just stare into their eyes. And it's like, I'm going to say it. I'm going to tell them. And then this wall comes up and nothing comes out of me. And I'm just like staring at them awkwardly. And I'm like, no. Like, so it's just, you know, like I knew that it was weird that normal people don't do this. And this isn't something that I talk to my siblings about because every spirit, even Michael, you guys always told me, don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone. And you need to hide this. Don't do it around people because they're going to think you're weird, right? And I've always trusted Michael. Okay, so even though he's done some shady stuff and he's a demon and he's crazy, there is a big part of me who always trusted him because he always looked out for me when I was scared and when I was angry. He always did things to help me. So there is, yes, I understand that I'm stuck with this thing and it's not going away. I can't will it away like other things. What was I going to do about it? Okay, like I didn't believe in shamans because they couldn't see him anyway, so it didn't help me. And then what do you do when no one can see him? You did have a younger sister who, you did, like third person here. Okay, so I did have a younger sister who actually saw Michael, so I knew I wasn't crazy. But, you know, like, it's one of those things where you felt like nobody could help you, so you just live with it. You know, it's like a succubus, just part of you. It's just like, it was just, you just went through life with it. Kind of like growing up, living in haunted houses. Our mom wasn't going to do anything about it. So you just live with it. You just live with the ghosts, okay? We all just getting along. We got to figure it out. And no one actually saw him. And what happened was, even the shaman who saw that I was going to be, or I'm supposed to be a shaman, he didn't see him either. So I had to tell him. Okay, like it got to the point where I'm just like, I just need to tell him. And when he did see me, you know, he saw that I was born with spirit guides. And he's the type who looks at flowers. And he had a whole shrine, okay, a huge, massive shrine. And everything was really dark, though, I remember. I've never, ever seen this shaman again, though. And so he told me, and he took flowers from me, and I, my girlfriend was the one who was like all convincing me about going to see a shaman, and that most likely I'm a shaman because her family followed shamanism, and she knew more about shamans than I ever did, right? And I remember I used to ask her, like, well, do shamans see ghosts and they talk to ghosts? And she was like, not really, but sometimes they do. Like, you hear stories, right? And then usually shamans are haunted before they become a shaman. And I'm just like, really? I'm like, I don't know about this. But then this individual saw new things about me. Like, for example, I'm not supposed to break any of my arms or legs. Like, I can't because I'm supposed to use them for ornating, which is, you know, going into the spirit world. And he recalled scenes and things that have happened in my life that I'm like, there's no way this guy knew about it. Like, I haven't even told my friend this, you know? And so I asked him about Michael, and he was like, you know, he basically said, because he didn't mention anything about him. And he basically said to me, like, oh no, like, he's supposed to come into your life so that way I know I'm supposed to be a shaman. And I'm like, that didn't really make sense, but I'm kind of like, okay, so a demon is supposed to haunt me, but nobody can see him? Like, this doesn't help me here. And then he said that I was born with 4 Tengsha, which are like Buddhas, which are the clairvoyant types. And that I was a really just person where everything had to be equal and fair. And that I was a man in my previous life. And that's why I am like a man. And I was like, what? But a lot of people have always said this about me growing up, that I'm like a man or I'm like a boy, because and then when I asked them about it, I thought I was a tomboy for a long time, you guys, because people kept saying this to me. And then they were like, no, you're not a tomboy at all. But it's basically, they say, is my demeanor, that I'm really like strong-headed, confident, and that I think like a man or something like that. So that's what a lot of people tend to say, but I think it's because I'm aggressive. So because of that, they're not used to associating that with women. And so I don't know, but that's just my only assumption that I have, but that's what a lot of people tend to say. And then that guy said, I used to be a man in my last lifetime, and that's why I'm like the way I am now. Now, what propelled me to finally do it was a couple of things. One of it was that shaman, he did say that I was going to die. Okay, he literally said I was going to die unless I became a shaman. And then a bunch of stuff happened with my dog Grizzly, with Michael. And my dog Grizzly, I used to have a German Shepherd. And he ended up having a lot of seizures. He ended up having chronic seizures where I had to put him down. So a lot of things led up to me finally, like, you know what, no, I need to just do this and I can get rid of Michael forever, you know. And I am just hidden from Michael, okay? In case you guys didn't watch my older videos, he's still around, okay? Like, I am just basically hidden from him, so he can't come back and find me. But, you know, it's one of those things where when people ask me about Michael, it was such a long period of my life with him. And I just became so used to having him around. So there definitely was a moment, when I was raising my shrine, the day of, where I felt like I had done the wrong thing. Like I was about to ruin my life. And everything just hit me like a train, and I'm just standing still. And the way my house was, okay, like I'm standing at the back door, and I'm looking at the wall, and that same connecting wall on the other side of it, on the other side of the house, is where my shrine was. And I remember in that moment, I just felt like, I know that there's a million people at my house right now, and we're here to raise my shrine, and I know I agreed to this, but I was like gonna put my hand out and just like stop the whole thing. Like, no. But, you know, obviously this was Michael, you know. So once it actually happened though, and I was able to be hidden from him, and I've talked about this too, my teacher did get injured from this. but and she still has this injury to this day. But anyways, I was able, after that, the whole feeling was gone. Like I didn't feel that anymore. And it was weird because I was like, because obviously it was someone else's feelings put on me, but it felt so much like my own. And it was so strong, you guys, where I really felt like I was making the biggest mistake of my life. And so, yeah, there was that. So, but then once I became a shaman, everything was different, you know, and I became wiser and I wasn't as selfish. I saw how I was really selfish, you know, and I definitely, you know, I made sure because I was like talking to my spirit guides, like, you know, I've done some bad things. Like, I've cursed people. I've like, with the help of Michael, like, you know, like I've done some pretty things that, you know, you shouldn't have done. And they were like saying that, you know, once you're taught though, you can no longer get away with it. So if I do it again, they're coming for me. And I'm like, okay. So it's one of those things where I became very enlightened through the process. And then I became a much different person as the years progressed. You know, I became more spiritually enlightened. I definitely became more compassionate towards people and their issues, especially like when they're coming to your house asking for help. It was being in totally different shoes now. And it's just like, I could choose to help them, you know, like, and then you see people in their most desperate moments, you know, and then you see people in their most shady moments too. And it's just like, oh my God, was that me? Yes. So, you know, it's just this whole final circle thing. And, you know, this is not an experience I ever regretted doing, you know, and I had no idea about shamanism or what I was putting myself into. I was just a carefree person where I'm like, you know, there's no way I cannot succeed. And so I did it. And along the way, that's where I learned of all the drama and all the hardships that other shamans really do go through. And thank God I didn't have to go through that, but it really exists, you know? And so that's why I do these videos, to really show people that the things that I never knew about shamanism and about our culture and, you know, like how it all, our roots and how the traditions are and why we do the things we do with shamanism. Like when I discovered it all, I was like, why doesn't more people talk about this? And everybody was still had that mindset, the old school mentality, you know, there's evil people out there, you know, like blah, blah. And I'm just like, but we have power too. Like we have magic too. Like, but then it's just one of those things where people don't trust anyone anymore. And that's really what it was. And I'm like, but there's so many people you could all help if you just went out there and shared your experience. You know, this isn't teaching the inner dark secrets of like voodoo and all that stuff. Okay, we're not doing that. Okay, like it's okay to think you're crazy. It's okay to have these experiences. Like if I never went through it and became a shaman, I would have never thought shamans are supposed to talk to ghosts and see them. I've only ever known them as destroyers of spirits, you know, like, yeah, I didn't know that there were psychics and mediums who didn't actually do the whole ceremony thing, but they were still shamans, okay? I've only ever heard of them. Now, yeah, I didn't know that there were so many different branches of shamanism too, and that they all kind of follow different rules, and they're all taught slightly different. So nowadays, especially with us becoming more modernized and people's children and their generation no longer being able to speak Hmong, there is going to be this huge disconnect, you know, and I feel like there's so many people out there who can help one another. So that's, before I go, I do want to add one last story. So that friend who is the one who really, I find in my life, that I learned a lot about the Hmong culture through her. It may have been biased, you know, because of, Michael didn't like her. Okay, so she was, there's certain things about people why Michael doesn't like people, okay? And so I remember she used to be really afraid of Michael. That's why. And she would talk to him, but she didn't know that Michael would tell me she talked to him. So then Michael is kind of like spirit guides where they follow people. Okay, like, I don't know if you guys do this, but if I meet people and my spirit guides find them very interesting, they tend to follow them for a little bit. They don't do nothing to you guys, okay? They just like, they like to, because they like to be entertained, and they find people entertaining. So they like to follow people. And it's kind of like, I love people watching, right? Like, but it's one of those things where I need to look them in the eyes, because once I look them in the eye, I understand everything, and I'm like, oh, that's why you do this. So, but it's one of those things where we find it so entertaining, and we have to see it, and so that's what they like to do. Okay, but anyways, they don't haunt people, okay, but I will say they do like to just watch people and see what they're up to. But Michael does this, okay, and so but Michael tend to do it as more of a prank. So Michael did those kind of things to kind of use it against people, and that's what he does. So, but Michael would like purposely do things to her, and like, I'm not saying, I'm not gonna say what it was that he would do it, but because he didn't like her, so he was purposely doing these things. But he would come and tell me, and he would also tell me things that, she thought or she said and stuff like that. And so it was just kind of weird. But anyways, you guys, but I learned a lot through her, like the good and the bad. She shared good things and bad things about, like anyone's culture or community will have good or bad, right? But it really helped me understand, like, somebody in her shoes and the way she thought, because she thought so differently from me, where I never understood that people did think the way she did, because we grew up so differently, and so it was just really eye-opening and entertaining. But yeah, I mean, like, I'm not saying she was a terrible person by any standards whatsoever. I've seen worse, okay, let's just say that. I have seen worse. But sometimes, in case you're wondering, are you a good person or a bad person? It's about the core, like who you are at your core, right? Everybody has dark moments. Everybody has great moments. But it is about really what's in your heart, and that's what they see. And so that's what spirit guides will decide if they like or don't like. And I will say this, I have somebody in my life right now, great person in real life, very friendly, very giving, but my spirit guides cannot stand this person. Okay, so like, and I remember I actually told my boyfriend's mom this, that, because we were talking about this individual, and I was like, oh yeah, but my spirit guides don't like them. And she was like, what? Like, she was like, because she is like a heart of gold, like she goes to church, she prays for people, like literally will just sit there and just pray for people, like, because she cares so much about other people, right? But I'm just like, yeah, no, like they really don't like them. And they're like, and she really wanted to know why, like, why doesn't my spirit guides like this individual? And I had to break it down to her, like, yeah, like, people, they can be super nice to you, but that doesn't mean your spirit guides are going to like them. It's because they see who you are at your core. And if there are things about you that is very negative, or you've done terrible things, or like who you really are and you're just hiding it, they will not like you for that. So there is that. I'm just saying, it's kind of like when you meet random people in the street. Sometimes you just hit it off, sometimes you don't, okay? It's kind of like, think of it that way, you guys. All right, you guys. So that is it for this video. I was pretty much a really selfish person before I became a shaman. I still had a lot of the same, some of the same abilities, like, premonition dreams and seeing ghosts and talking to them, but it definitely elevated, and it became a cleaner version, like you're drinking clean water, like that kind of version once I became a shaman. All right, guys, until next time.